Good morning and welcome to Our Stories. Our guest today is Paul Rosenberger, who's been a member of First Pres for quite a number of years. Paul grew up in Estherville, Iowa,
Yes.
which is in the northwest corner of the state. You went to high school there during World War II. That's my first question to you, I guess, is what was it like going to school there in Estherville during the war?
Well, when our county or our little country schoolhouse closed, we went to the big town of Groover, and that town had 100 people in it, but it was kind of the township size of a town. But in any case, this was during the war. We got into there almost the beginning of the World War II, and we really found out that the whole faculty in the high school was brought out of retirement because all the teachers, many of them men, got drafted. And so it became pretty much an older group of teachers.
Yeah.
And our principal or our superintendent of that high school was the sports person. He was our basketball coach. He was our baseball coach, and that's all we had in that period.
Yeah.
But these were older folks, and I think that we learned a lot because of what they came from. Was they were way older than me,
Mm-hmm.
and so they really gave us a good perspective of the world.
Yeah, they lived plenty of life and had a lot of their own history behind
Yeah,
them to
yeah.
draw from.
But of course, most of the students were from a farm.
Yeah. Did you belong to any groups at the high school?
One of the wonderful parts of that high school staff was that they brought out a music teacher. And this music teacher was a violin player, and she was helping her family in the big town of Estherville, and she was the one that really, I guess, helped me want to be involved in music.
Mm.
So I was in the band, I was in the chorus we had, and of course we even tried to do a senior play. We had to borrow juniors because I only had 6 in my class.
Yeah.
It was unique, and my brother, who was a year and a half younger, was behind me, but he was involved in the same kinds of things that I was involved in. And then he followed me to Iowa State when I graduated and matriculated, so to speak, to Iowa State.
Right. Now you graduated from high school there and went to ISU.
Iowa State, yeah.
Iowa State. All right, so you're there, you're a freshman trying to get acclimated to everything. But because of the housing shortage, you were...
Most of my mother's relatives, including her father and mother, and many cousins, were in Story City, which is a little town about 2,000 population north of Ames. My grandfather was the editor of the paper, and so he had spare rooms because all his kids had evaporated, so to speak, and so I was. He said that I could have a room in his house, and that worked good because there were 3 or 4 others in the town that went to Iowa State also, and they offered to let me ride with them.
So you carpooled with other
I
students
carpooled
there, yeah.
with this other group. I didn't have a car then,
Sure. All right.
and I don't even know if I paid them or what I did.
Yeah. But you didn't stay out there with your grandfather very long, did you?
No, just a couple weeks.
Yeah, okay. So how did you wind up getting housing?
Because we saw that there was a camp that was sponsored by the YMCA and the YWCA for people who wanted to learn more about college life before they got there, because they had, most of the kids that went there to this camp were, like me, a farm kid. But in any case, they have a wonderful park over at Boone, and they had a 3 or 4 day camp, and it was led by a person who had been involved with Iowa State for years. He was probably in his 60s then, and he was the director of the camp, and he invited some of the professors out to talk to us, and then he would conduct what I called just a platonic discussion groups. And he was a good old gentleman, and he would, of course, learn all of your names.
Yeah.
So that when I went to when school started, and I was carpooling, I would go to his home or his office there in the middle of the campus. It was called Alumni Hall. So it was a really fortuitous thing that I got to I got acquainted.
Right.
Because they had a big open room out in front. They had sofas and tables, and you could do your studying there.
So you went to this, like, it was like a freshman orientation camp,
Exactly.
you know.
Yes.
That this man, Ray Cunningham,
Yes.
was running.
Right.
Now you're on campus and you begin
Yep.
to feel like you're getting acclimated,
Yeah.
even to the point where you started getting involved with some groups on campus.
Correct. One of the first ones that he kind of introduced me to was in a building that was about I would call it a half a block away, was what they called the music department. And there was a voice teacher there, and he suggested that I could take some extra voice lessons because I had been pretty active in music in
Sure.
high school. So about 200 kids, maybe 200 or 300 kids, would come over to one of the big rooms over in the ag hall and practice the Messiah, and then we would give it about 2 or 3 productions for all of Ames, people that wanted to come,
Sure.
and the other students that wanted to come.
Yeah.
And that's probably the main organization that I joined. But that led me to become a part of the men's choir.
Yeah.
And then from there, I was selected to be on the traveling squad,
Right.
such as like Milliken travels
Sure.
around with their main choir.
Yeah. So you're really getting involved with campus, and things are going along pretty good until you get a grade report.
My folks thought that I should be in architecture because we used blocks and my brother and I would build stuff at home. We built tree houses. We built. We would put together our toy blocks,
Sure.
and so my folks both encouraged me to try out architecture, and I couldn't pass the muster.
That wasn't your
It
wasn't your strong area.
It certainly wasn't.
Yeah. So what happened then?
When I went to talk to Ray Cunningham, the person that I'm saying I remember so much, is that he said, well, right over here at this building about a block away, they do interest tests. And he said, why don't you go take a battery of tests over there and see if they can suggest a better path for you. And I did, and they did. I just remember that I had to fill out a lot of little tests.
Sure.
And of course it came out that I was from a farm.
Yeah. Surprise.
And surprise, surprise. Yeah. So I wound up, obviously, switching at the very second quarter. We were on a quarter system at that time. And then so I switched to ag engineering. I went over to visit the building, and I saw familiar tractors. I saw familiar farm implements and that sort of thing. Talked to some of their professors, and was immediately converted to an ag engineer. When I graduated in 1952, there were 8 ag engineers in my graduating class. All of them got hired by Caterpillar because Caterpillar wanted implements to go along with their crawler tractors. They were looking to expand the uses of their crawler tractors. Yeah. And that's how I got to Caterpillar.
Okay. All right.
I would see Ray Cunningham almost every day because he'd usually be behind a desk just off the area where I studied.
Yeah.
And he would see me.
Sure.
And greet me and that sort of thing. It wasn't that I had any real serious problems, but the biggest problem was, what do I do with this curriculum?
Right. And once you got that solved, it sounds like things were.
Oh, we saw each
Yeah.
other regularly,
Yeah.
and he was the one that told me about the voice teacher next door.
Okay. Did you get a sense with Ray that, was this kind of support and so forth a thing that he did with a lot of guys, or was it more that he, kind of looked for guys who maybe needed it a little more?
So he knew everybody that was in the building,
Yeah.
and he didn't try to interfere
Sure.
with anybody. But I suspect that he had a different approach to everybody that was there.
Yeah. After you graduated and went to work for Caterpillar, do you have any contact with Ray after that?
One time we went back and I visited Alumni Hall. This was a couple of years after we graduated, and I had my wife then. Well, it was after the war, I guess it was, and we would stop in.
Sure.
And just say hello.
Yeah.
And I could tell that he was getting a little old.
Okay.
And he not too long after that, I read in the newspaper his obituary.
Oh. Okay. Well, thanks very much for sharing your story about your special person, Ray, and the role that he played in your life. And
Yeah.
sounds like that you was the kind of person who really kind of just stepped into your life at a critical time.
At a very critical
and,
time.
And offered some really sound guidance for you.
Exactly.
So I can see why you would consider him to be a very important person in your life.